Welcome back to the Rob Skinner podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, to make this life count, and to multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. I'm on the 8th floor of the Marriott in Dallas, Texas, on day 3 of the Climb Small Church Leadership Conference. I'm here with Joel Peed, Joel Nagel, and my wife, Pam Skinner. And we're talking about what happened today and all the good stuff that went on. Joel Peed?
Well, God has just moved in amazing ways. Glenn and Heather Keating finished it off tonight, and it was, this guy's an ER doc, a self-supporting church planter. Their church went from a handful to over 100, and then they hired a full-time minister, and it was just so inspiring to see that there's more than one way to plant a church. Mm-hmm. And here's a tent maker ministry, and just their heart, their faith, their sincerity. You just were so drawn to them and trusted them right away. So it really opened my mind as I was listening to them, like, there's so many things we can do with. And so I think just really respect and honor those who are tent maker ministers, right. Self-supporting.
Absolutely.
So, heroes.
Amazing. What did you think, baby?
Oh, I was really inspired. I thought it was the perfect way to end the conference because they're so relatable. You know, they get up there and we've had all these, authors, people that have all these PhDs, these degrees, all these really, of course, accomplished people that are teaching. And then for them to get up and go, okay, this is amateur hour,
Yes, awesome.
And just for them to share their lives. I was really inspired. Heather did a great job. I was super inspired by the women that taught today. Let's talk about Barry Lusk. Let's talk about Heather Keating, really proud of the women really preaching the word. But tonight's lesson was great. And then, of course, Joel Nagel. Oh, my gosh. I mean, talk about fire hose, right? All this stuff, it's so great. I mean, your whole spreadsheet, I just got to say, and that red line.
Avoid the red
brilliant.
line.
Avoid the red line. You're going to have to explain that to our audience. But I was blown away by all the preparation, all the detail, just going forward, helping the small churches. It was an incredible day, incredible night, incredible day.
And it kind of, if I could say one thing, for the tent makers, for the ones who aren't full time, to be able to be given tools like that. It's what a breath of fresh air. Right. Just encourage, I can do this.
Yeah. Right.
So you really gave an incredible gift to all of us, but especially those who, are struggling to keep their head above water.
Right. It was so cool how Joel Peed organized yesterday's program with the minister's health and spirituality, which was so amazing. Yeah. And so many people are so grateful and just thanking me like, man, that really helped so much to focus on me as a leader to do better spiritually and to grow. Mm-hmm. And then today, Joel Nagel just kicked it off in the first class, and it was like, oh my gosh. And I loved what you said, say, hey, doing the ministry and your own personal spiritual health, they're not in opposition. They're just total balance. And you went after it. And you organized all of today, the whole program. You had yourself, and then it was
Kelsey
Hahn, who's missionary to China, and then Dave Jung, John Lusk, and Barry Lusk did an amazing job in the afternoon, and then you wrapped it up again. It was a phenomenal program. How are you feeling about how things came off today, Joel Nagel?
Well, I'm feeling tired.
Yes, I hear you.
But how it came off, I think there were two themes. There are things like David Jung presented, there's a way to fix conflict. And we've got it figured out, but people just don't know it. John and Barry presented, and I thought Barry did such a phenomenal job as well, just modeling how to preach together. That was so good, so healthy. But I think they showed us that there's a way to preach, and we can learn that. We can learn to preach better. And then I think with Kelsey's presentation and maybe some of the things I presented as well, there are things we don't know. Yeah. God knows how to grow his churches, and we have to be passionate enough, curious enough, brave enough to try new things. Yeah. And then my goal really is to, when we try things that work, to make them reproducible, to make it so that people can use them for free, that what works can spread. Yeah. And that's really a big hope that I have coming out of the conference. That'll happen.
Yeah. I loved what you said when you said, you can do anything you want. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think we just put ourselves in boxes that aren't real. And there are some really important things that we need to hold to, that we should, and that we respect from our traditions as a movement, and especially from the Bible. But it's a much bigger box than what we think. And if that room full of entrepreneurs, that's really what the small church leaders are. 200 entrepreneurs, if they have that spirit of figuring out what works, and every city's different, every situation's different, and so really honing in on that spirit and giving people the freedom, letting them know they have the freedom to do great things in their situation. So I hope that hit.
Oh, definitely.
It definitely did. I know in the fellowship, many people were coming up to me and saying, "Oh my gosh, this is like the graphics that you presented, the spreadsheets, the ideas, the themes." I think there was a lot of people that felt a sense of relief. Like, of course, I'm hearing all these lessons and going to make a lot of changes, but to have those practical tools to go into the new year, many people were just like, "Great, I want to do this. I want to put this into practice." So. Thank you for all your work.
And I don't know if we mean when we say anything. I mean, for those of you who are listening,
anything.
It's kind of like where
the
Bible
says,
times. I can do everything. Maybe not means everything, but so we know what you mean, though.
Amen.
I thought Kelsey did an amazing job. I mean, he was like listening to an audio book at like two times
the speed.
So
yes. I
mean, people will be adjusting that. Wow, I gotta to slow down.
we were a little nervous. I mean, Joel, you said that guy's got like 94 slides.
Yeah.
And he was cranking through them. I mean, he went through quite a few slides.
Yes. You know, though, I love Kelsey's mind of research and thinking, like what is working,
right?
Which I think is really a revealer of where's God working, right? And how, and watching instead of us prescribing, well, this is the best way or best size or best pattern. Well, where's God working? So I love how and I'm kind of an engineering background nerd too, so I was like, oh yeah, this research and design and experimenting.
I know, and Kelsey is interesting. I mean, first of all, just a first-class mind. I mean, blow away intelligence. I mean, you said that, Joel Nagel, when you introduced him, but I just wish he had like a day to go through everything. Because I feel like we got to dig more into what he was talking about. And one of the things that he shared is that newer small churches grow faster. I mean, it's just the way it is. When in churches, it was a little discouraging. I got to be honest. I was like, when churches get older, and whether they're big or small, they slow down in their growth. You can't keep them going forever. But just how much we need to keep planting new churches.
Yeah. Right.
Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think the numbers. When we hear numbers like that we don't like, we want to believe things that aren't true.
Right.
But the numbers are true.
Right.
And so it takes a lot of humility to hear that, but it doesn't mean that we're defeated or that God can't do great things. It just means that we have to, we have to figure out ways that work.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to not just pretend that things are going to work. When we can see that, something new has to happen. New plantings, a new way of looking at churches in our cities, hybrid house churches, those ideas, like being willing to explore. I think the numbers can be a spark for that. So I appreciated that.
I think he gave us a lot to think about. I mean, the whole idea of the one church in the one city.
Oh, she went there.
Yeah, I did. Okay. I mean, he brought it up, and it was just like, bag. And I just go, wow, he was really talking about that, and I go, okay, that's going to be a good discussion in terms of planning more churches, and he said that's where the growth is. So I don't know.
You know what I like about, because obviously in our history numbers were way taken into very unhealthy places. But there is a way to have a healthy view. You know, when I step on the scale and the number, obviously the scale's broken, the number's way too high.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I can just be like, well, I'm just not going to look at numbers.
Right.
It's just discouraging.
Right.
Versus I can be like, okay, there's a reason for this, and let me face, what was it? Jim Collins in Good to Great, right? It says to face the harsh reality constantly. Like, what's the honest truth? And insert that with humility and faith. So we can be humble and faithful while we look at honesty, but our identity, God's love for us, our value, none of that. That's handled
Our future.
at the cross.
Right.
So we can be secure and we can have great conversations.
Right.
So, and we can work together to think.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this group is even how we do our churches. Right here, we're sitting with three different churches, 3 different ways to do church.
Right.
That's awesome. That's what I think makes this beautiful. Mm-hmm. Is there's no one way.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to bring up a lot. And I had people coming up to me afterwards going, whoa, what's he talking about? Having more church, more than one church in a metropolitan area. And I could tell there was a sense of fear and like, whoa, what's that guy even going? I personally go, how are we going to win the world unless we can have more churches in metropolitan areas? Yeah. And I go, Tucson's got like 5 or 6 towns and cities in that make up Greater Tucson. And I just go, we're going to have to get churches out there to those places. And I go, I don't know where it's going to start, but one thing that he really showed was like, we've gone around the world. We've got churches out there in all the major cities, but we're just not very deep. We haven't really penetrated. I don't know. I don't want to make this all about that.
But I think it's one of the boxes. We've got an extra box that we might not need.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Extra box?
I mean, we put ourselves in these boxes, and instead of we can do anything, we add extra boxes.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that is what this is. And if we're willing to open, maybe not throw the whole box away, but at least open it up and look inside.
Yeah.
And see, there's a lot more room.
And just have the conversation.
Yep.
Right.
Just start talking. Got to talk about it.
We can have the conversation. There's house churches. There's a house church movement, et cetera. So like in some contexts it may not be healthy.
Right.
But let's talk about it in a calm, spiritual way where we make every effort to work together.
Yeah. It was great. And I talked to Kelsey and he goes, I'm tired of beating my drum on this, but I'm just going to bring it out one more time. From my view, though, because he's been like sequestered out there in China,
we haven't heard it.
Right.
Have you heard it? I mean, I haven't heard
I've heard it because we worked with him a couple of years ago with the small church stuff, but no one else has.
Exactly.
Right.
I feel like do you feel like it's really been overheard? No, I just feel like it's kind of coming out of the box now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Dave Jung.
Ooh.
Man.
What are your thoughts on what
I thought it was great. I'm really excited about, taking his class, conflict resolution. It's so important. And I just loved how he kind of compared it to the way we view the study series. Yep. That we know that, right? It's just, we memorize it. It's in our toolbox, but we don't have that same skill set with conflict resolution. I look forward to that. I want
too.
that.
Right.
And training the whole congregation to be
Mm-hmm.
peacemakers.
Yeah.
So it's not just us. Are we even the right people? I loved that point. Are we even the right people to get in there and help mediate? And if we have personal triggered by certain personalities, then you're probably not the right. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So we have a church equipped full of disciple makers and peacemakers.
Yep.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, I think a lot of people in our church, we talk about peace a lot. Jesus, peace be with you. He said the word a lot, and they expect that, but I think there's a false expectation that peace means there's no conflict, when peace is actually healthy resolution of conflict.
Amen.
And so being able to get ahead of that, let people know, okay, this is what peace looks like. It's actually after conflict or dealing with conflict quickly. I just think it'll save so much heartache.
Right.
And so I appreciated Dave so much. His system, that he's making it a free resource, is going to be excellent for the small churches and big churches, really. But we kind of got the preview. We get the first crack at it. So praise God for that.
I mean, I just feel it on such a personal level because this fall we've had Al Baird come in to help us mediate some tricky situations, some conflicts within our church. And
did you and Pam get it worked out? Or?
We did.
Luckily, it wasn't.
Stay tuned.
But he helps so much, and I mean, it's affected our church. I mean, it's definitely. It's not just COVID; it's other stuff, but it's of course accentuated by COVID. But I loved what he said about how when Moses was in the desert, judging between disputes and spending all of his daytime just doing that. And then Jethro comes up and says, hey, what you're doing is not good. And what he said about how you got to solve these problems before you get to Mount Sinai. I mean, that if they hadn't figured out that problem, they may have never gotten to Mount Sinai and received the 10 Commandments. It could have just stalled the entire movement because he was just wasting all his time dealing with issues. Yep. I just thought that was a powerful insight.
It was great. And I love even the wisdom of the world.
Right.
And the wisdom of the world, if it's actually wise, it's based in God.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
God made the world.
Right.
Great point.
And so we don't have to just discard everything because we didn't think of it.
Right.
We can trace it back to the principles of the scriptures and intertwine. That's what I love about Kyle Spears, what he's doing. He's taking his education in trauma, all the psychology, all the, that whole world, and getting a theology degree and letting them live in peace with one another, and not instead of just isolating or being suspicious of one another.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, that guy's just really smart, Dave Jung. I was like, wow, this guy's really awesome. I got to make a confession. I did an interview with him a while back about conflict resolution. And then I went back and listened to it. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I share all those things? I actually had to go back and edit some stuff because I'm like, that's just way too personal. I felt like I was having a
counseling time.
Well, and he's a therapist.
Yeah.
And
It's a good one, I guess.
Can I say something about that, though? I loved in this conference, we really brought in PhDs. We brought in the best of the best. And there's a value in education. Like there's the hours and years they put into study. But then we also had just good old ministers.
Right.
And we had good old lay leaders. Like there's just this mixture. I really love that.
That's right. Well, let's talk about John and Barry Lusk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah, I'll go first because I'm just such a fan. I was like, I felt like I was sitting at their feet. Yeah. I wanted to be literally right at their feet as they preached. Yeah. I didn't take notes. I just leaned in to it, and his teaching, their teaching on preaching is so inspirational. I mean, that's our craft,
right?
And so you get to it's like getting to see like a master glass blower, or to hear him speak about it, and they had. Like he said, 4 hours of content. I think that was a theme today. There's way more content than we could actually present, and we presented so much content. But I thought they did a great job of hitting the major points, and I think really, hopefully, leaving people wanting more, wanting to read some more books about preaching, get more insights, and do the Preach With You 2022, and keep learning from him. So I just thought it was. I love it. I love that teaching.
Yeah, me too.
Can I say something? I really appreciated Barry's vulnerability, but also what she said about the women's role and teaching and preaching. I felt like she spoke to it. She didn't make it the point of the whole thing, but I appreciated her speaking to that and being honest about that, and her view that unity must win the day. Unity trumps. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but go back and listen to it if you haven't listened to it. But I thought she had some very wise words.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I love when Barry talks about the pink scriptures,
Yeah.
I mentioned that to the women in my church. And and she's just such a powerful speaker. Yes. I appreciate that. She didn't hold back. And she's a great role model. But just the call for all the sisters to make sure that we're teaching, and in the small churches, it's easy to just go, hey, I'll let my husband do it. Well, the venue, all these excuses, we can't do it, don't have, but I think the women need it so much. So I appreciated that.
And I think equipping the other sisters to be teaching. Yeah. I know I felt like I'm so proud of Christy. She let go of the women's midweeks this year and empowered all the other women to teach, and they just have had the best women's midweeks ever, according to them.
Right.
Yeah.
As we equip other women to teach. And
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. John is an amazing preacher, but he also has the skill to teach how to preach, which is fantastic. Incredible. And I love his attitude, because it's so tempting as a small church leader just to wing it. It's like, I got 10 people showing up, so I'm just going to just throw it out there, and he's always hammering away at work on your craft, get better. Here's some tips. Here's how you can improve. And it was very persuasive when he said, this is the most bang for your buck that you've got going all week. Yes. Like you said, if there's 100 people at your church and you're preaching for half an hour, that's 50 man hours that you're impacting right there. It's really, really high leverage.
Yeah.
Influence. And so really inspired me, like, I just got to keep going after it, no matter how long I've been doing it, get better, put the time into it.
And that's another example. We got the best of the best.
Right.
Right there.
Sure. Right there.
Into this conference for our small church leaders too. I mean, this is why, this is where it's at.
I know.
And that, we love the big churches. We love them. Right. We need them. We stand on their shoulders. They support us. I mean, from the very beginning, the A.T. Arneson supported 100% behind Todd Assad, 100%. I mean, Todd's bringing all his large church leaders to this conference because it's just it's so valuable for any size. But the large churches are supporting our small church fellowship and conferences, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. That was awesome. Yeah. So many things. I just want to wrap it up by saying, Joel Nagel, I just loved his lessons.
Yeah.
He preached at the beginning, he taught at the beginning, and then he taught at the end. And what he did was he provided a calendar and a way of planning and preparing, because it's just not my strength to do a lot of deep planning. Of course, I'll do it, and I have to do it. But he put together a spreadsheet so it makes it easy, like a reminder, like, hey, you've got to, what are you preaching in 3 weeks? I'm like, 3 weeks?
It's about 3 hours.
How about 3 hours? Knowing what I'm going to be preaching, he's like, wow, okay.
You know what my sister said to me? She said, I thought you did Saturday nights too. I was like,
the secret's out.
Not now in front of during the preaching lesson.
But you put so much work into that. I know hours and hours and hours, and you made it. You were so generous and say, hey, this is free. You can access it. And then you went into, what was the second tool that you went into?
How about the study series?
The study series.
The book that he gave everybody, that we can make that available. 5 studies, boiling it all down. That was brilliant.
And on your phone.
And on your phone.
Yes. And having people go through the work first. I mean, that is, I'm so excited about that.
Me too.
Giving that to, and the call to, after every church service, saying, hey guys, study the Bible.
Right.
This book's available.
Right.
Awesome. And Joel did this previously, and I've kind of copied that in Eau Claire a number of years ago. But I think the other thing I like about that, I don't know if you mentioned too much, is we got nothing to hide. Here's what we believe. Right. And if you want to read ahead, we are not ashamed. We're proud. Right. Repentance, baptism, lordship, there it is.
Yeah, you don't need
I think that adds it adds trust. It builds trust.
Right.
We're transparent. This is what we believe.
I just laughed so hard when Joel Nagel said, if you go to another church, you go to a Calvary Chapel or whatever, there's no doubt that they are going to absolutely every single time
that was a great point.
Call you to make a decision to follow the wrong steps to salvation.
So clear. So clear.
I mean, what was the wording?
Yeah,
I could be off on that.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, that's so true. We gotta make
Right.
sure people are, trying to.
What are we doing?
Right. What are we doing? I know. It was really, really great.
Could I say something else too? I feel like I'm
No, go
interrupting.
ahead.
I appreciate Beth and your family
Yes.
and the whole Lansing Church
Yeah.
because they have sacrificed
Yeah.
you in a way.
Yeah.
Sounds like they've laid you on the altar. But no, our churches all are supportive of us doing this.
Right.
And it's a sacrifice for them. They haven't probably seen a whole lot of us the last, couple months. So, but thank you especially to you and in the Lansing Church for supporting you in your efforts to help all the small churches.
What was the name of the website?
Well, the Bible study booklet's at gowithgod.org. And it's so good on your phone. It's so easy. There's a big button that says start the journey. And so your members can check it out. When you ask your friends to study the Bible, it's just so easy for people to start studying the Bible. It's never been easier, but also I don't think the quality's ever been like this.
Right.
For the Bible study experience that people can have. And people were fired up in the fellowship about that.
Yeah, they
I mean,
were.
they were taking extra books. People ordered many, many books today.
I know some people ordered 200 right on the spot.
Right.
Right there.
It was just no brainer.
I was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it.
How long have you used it in Lansing? This one, Go With God?
So we've been using books like that for 10 years, and that's that style of giving people the studies beforehand. It really works.
Yeah.
But now having the app, we've been using it for a year.
Okay.
And so through pandemic, which was helpful, but we've had fruit. The campus ministry, like we have campus ministers from other churches who used other Bible studies. Now they use this, and they're like, "This works. It just works."
Yeah. And it wasn't just that. I mean, through your website, Kingdom Built Resources, you also have like ways to disciple one another. I mean, there's just so much. What you're doing is phenomenal. Totally exceptional, unique. I felt a personal a sense of relief, like a burden was lifted off me.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I don't have to just spend hours beating my head against the wall trying to figure out what we're going to be doing this next year. I've got a way to track it, to keep track of, who's going to be doing communion 3 weeks from now and all sorts of stuff. So thank you for making it easier for me and for so many other people, Joel.
Well, and that's what you're a seasoned, experienced minister. What a young guy who's, I just think this equips so many more people to be able to serve in this capacity because we're giving them tools.
Right.
You're giving them tools.
Yeah. And don't forget the family devotionals and that video that you showed. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. It's really, really excellent.
Yeah. I just think our fellowship, we've had some hard times, and I don't think we know how good it really is and what we really have to offer. And we got to see that this whole weekend. Experts were able to bring in from within our fellowship.
Right.
The great speakers, the stories that people have. And this conference really was a collection of all of that, putting it in one place, showcasing it. And that's really what I want with kingdombuiltresources.com, is to collect the resources. I've got resources. I want more so that we have it.
Right.
We just don't have access to it. People just don't know that we have it, but now they will. And I'm so excited about that. It's going to be such a great thing.
It's been amazing 3 days so far, and we've got Josue Ortega tomorrow morning just to finish it off. And hopefully we can interview him tomorrow after church, and wrap that up and wrap up the entire conference. But we've got to talk about how are we going to make all these classes available, and where can people find it? Because I'm sure people are wondering, like, okay, where I want to watch this, I want to listen to this. What are we going to do?
Yeah, the goal is to have it within the week. And we'll have it on robskinner.com. We'll have a link to robskinner.com on kingdombuiltresources.com. It'll be through YouTube. The Dallas, one of the advantages of many things that Dallas Fort Worth Church helped with was exceptional video quality, and it's going to these messages are going to live on and be so powerful. So we'll get that out as soon as possible. The Asian churches are going to have a conference based on this content. via Zoom. So, the islands of Indonesia, the islands of Japan, China, the Philippines, they're getting it together so that they can learn from the same content in just 2 weeks. And so the goal is to have that fast of a turnaround, and I think we'll be able to do it.
Amen.
So they're editing, and did I hear about a YouTube channel? They're making a YouTube channel or something like that.
Well, kingdombuiltresources.com has a YouTube channel. It can go there, but we're working on all that.
Yep, it's going to be available. It's going to be awesome. Thank you guys so much, and I'm glad we're not finishing tonight, but we've got tomorrow, and it's been it's just totally amazing so far. I'm just grateful to God how it all came together. It almost didn't happen, this whole conference. It really did.
Well, thank you to Rob Skinner specifically.
Yes.
It happened.
Amen.
As the Joels were less than believing at one point, but Rob.
Well, we all need
you
each
saved
other.
the day, Rob.
We got robbed.
Yes. Could I say one other thing too? I just thanks so much to the Dallas church and Todd and Patty, the whole Dallas staff just supported so much. And Nancy Bartlow is my hero.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And Dana.
Yeah.
So thank you to the Dallas church and the administrative staff. We couldn't have, if you know anything about Joel or Rob, you know that we couldn't do anything without them.
It was
and
amazing.
Alan and John, too.
Yes.
The worship. Ooh, that was
and
great.
Nick from Tucson.
Right. Yeah. It was an amazing time. Please listen to the classes, watch them online. In the future, don't miss the next Climb conference. We'll have it at some point in time, not sure exactly when, but please, it's worth it. Put it in your budget. It's so encouraging. It's incredibly powerful when you get together with people who are like-minded.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Joel, Pam, and Joel.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much for joining the Rob Skinner podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please hit the subscribe button and let your friends know about it and how to find it. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, live a no regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.